The Palestinians must feel abandoned, but they are not abandoned. We are not many, but we are true, and we are right, and we will overcome.
That was the voice of Socialist Alliance member Gary McLand, who spoke at a pro-Palestine rally last Wednesday. 2 rallies throughout the week saw hundreds of people fill Brisbane streets to condemn Israelis' boarding of an aid flotilla headed for Gaza. The 6-ship flotilla sailed from Turkey and attempted to break the Gaza naval blockade, but was boarded in international waters by Israeli commandos in a nighttime operation early Monday morning. People from a range of ages and ethnic backgrounds participated in the Brisbane rallies, calling for an end to the Gaza blockade.
It shows the level of indignation that a lot of people have got regarding the actions of Israel.
Oh well, free Gaza. That's all, mate. Free Palestine.
Peace in the world, mate. Peace in the world. That's all we want.
Freedom. That's all I achieve. That's all I want to achieve. Freedom. That's about it. It's been 61 years. They deserve freedom. They deserve to be human beings and live like human beings.
We are protesting for the liberty of Palestine, for the people who were killed, just to save or just to help the people in Gaza.
But I think this is disgusting. Israel had no right to attack a ship in international waters. It's called piracy.
It's disgusting what Israel is doing to Palestine, and the apartheid should end.
Although accounts of the incident differ between Israeli and Palestinian groups, violence aboard the ships resulted in 9 people dead, the injury of 7 Israeli commandos and some of the ship's crew. Crew aboard the ship claimed the Israeli military fired first from helicopters and boarded the flotilla with aggressive tactics. They claim the crew responded to the raid in self-defence. Justice for Palestine Brisbane spokeswoman Catherine Zaran was a key organiser of the Brisbane protests.
They went in with, they had helicopters, they had the latest military techniques, they had commandos. I mean, just the word itself, you can evoke exactly how frightening it must have been for those people. So some of the people on that boat I know, absolutely peace-loving humanitarians, and to suggest that these people on the boat with arms attacking commandos with guns and machine guns is patently ridiculous.
Israeli commandos claim they boarded the flotilla with non-lethal paintball guns, which are used to disperse unruly crowds. They claim the crew on the Mabi Mambra attacked them with axes and iron bars, and they responded in self-defence with lethal force. Australia, Israel and Jewish Affairs Council Executive Director Colin Rubenstein said the resistance and violence from the crew on the Mabi Mambra was premeditated.
5 of the initial 6 ships were commandeered without the use of force, without any violence, without any bloodshed. And again, yesterday, the Rachel Corrie, or on the weekend, was also commandeered without any violence because there was no resistance. But on the 6th ship initially, the Mabi Marmara, flying under the Turkish flag, Israeli naval commandos encountered extreme violence as they were attacked with knives and slingshots and steel poles. This was an ambush, and this was effectively a lynch mob, and responded under those dire circumstances to save their own lives. And as a result, we know, tragically, 9 people were killed.
Mr Rubenstein said he believes the flotilla's intent was not to provide aid to the people of Gaza, but to confront the naval blockade and create an international incident. He said more aid flows to Gaza through legal checkpoints every week than was on board the flotilla.
So, I mean, that's a lie to the claim that this is all about aid. It wasn't about aid. I mean, in the minds of many of the people on the flotilla, I've got no doubt, though, misguided perhaps, but well-intentioned. But the idea that Gaza is starving without medical supplies is false. Over 1 million tonnes of aid have gone from Israel to Gaza over the last year, and roughly, as you correctly say, approximately 2,000 tonnes a day. The flotilla, to put this in perspective, carried 10,000 tonnes. Yes, the conditions in Gaza are not pleasant, and the Israelis are preventing some building materials like cement and pipes going in because, unfortunately, these elements have a dual-use purpose. They can be used for military defence purposes as much as civilian. And so that's a problem. But the idea that there's no food or medical supplies, of course, is belied by anyone looking at the readily available information about the Gaza situation.
Mr Rubenstein said Israel is concerned about weapons entering Gaza, and the naval blockade is to prevent ammunitions entering from ships.
Some people will remember a few years ago the Korean A, was intercepted by the Israeli authorities. That was a ship that was laden with sophisticated weaponry bound for Gaza. So given that just last year a similar ship was apprehended by the Israelis going into Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, also supplied from Iran, Israel is dealing with a live and present and always concerning problem.
At the Friday night rally, over 500 protesters marched through Brisbane city streets before pausing outside Starbucks and calling for a boycott on the international coffee outlet, labelling the company as pro-Israel. Starbucks in the Brisbane Myer Centre and their national marketing manager were contacted but both declined to comment. Rally organiser Anas Abdullah believed the Australian government should act against Israel for their recent actions.
Australian government has to stand up to Israel. Australia hasn't taken any serious steps in condemning Israel, which is quite unfortunate, because had it been any other country, well, Australia would have been the first to stand up, because Australia is a champion for human rights, but a champion this human rights campaign.
Mr Rubinstein called for the Australian community to look at all the evidence before rushing to judgment on the problems in Gaza.
I can't speak for the Israeli community, but the Australian Jewish community overwhelmingly concerned about the outbreak of hypocrisy and double standards and the rush to judgment condemning Israel without being prepared to look at the evidence and to understand that this was a blatant political stunt designed to break a very legitimate blockade.
Our first task is to mourn the lives of all those who gave their lives. And they are martyrs, every one of them, those brave people who died. They are martyrs for freedom. They are martyrs for justice. And above all, they are martyrs for the liberation of the Palestinian people. Our task is to mourn, and then our task is to commit ourselves with all the strength, all the energy we have to make sure that they did not die in vain. We must ensure that the butchers, that the evil butchers of Israel will not succeed, that the blood that flowed on those ships will not have flowed in vain. They fought with their bare hands against machine guns. They resisted, and they had a right to resist. They were resisting piracy, a criminal act. They were resisting a war crime. And I salute their resistance. I hail it.
10,000 missiles over the last few years from Hamas into Israel, and they still keep firing rockets, even though they've dramatically been reduced after Operation Cast Lead at the beginning of last year.